this is a very famous poem by Ezra Pound. It's very short, of course. It's famous for its very clear image. It's kind of sculpted. It's like a sculpture. There are no extraneous words. Everything there is necessary. The words are very hard, very exact. It's like chiseling the picture out of rock. And that's really what the modernist movement and imagist movement that Pound was the leading light of was all about getting rid of the flowery adjectives and metaphors of the 90s, 1890s, and get back to a very exact description of a particular event or scene. In order to write this very famous imagist poem, Pound has recourse to the Japanese haiku. The Japanese haiku was popular in the 9th and the 12th centuries, and the idea was to say something about ordinary life in a very clear but striking way, one that would make people think about their lives and the way it relates to destiny. Usually, or traditionally, this poem has 17 syllables. There are 5 syllables in the first line, 7 in the second, 5 in the third. So there are 3 lines. Often the poem has something called a kigo, or reference to the season in some way, either directly with a reference to spring or winter, or perhaps talking about the sun or the rain to suggest the season indirectly. Anyway, they tend to be about nature. The images involved, the pictures involved, tend to be about nature. Pound has adapted this a little bit. I think there are 19 syllables in his poem, and it's 2 lines long, not divided into 3 lines of 5, 7, 5. I don't think there's any particular reference to a kigo in the Pound poem, but he does talk about the wet branch, so possibly that's a suggestion that it's, I don't know, spring or autumn. Yeah, the poem itself is often cited as not having any verbs, which is true, I suppose. I'm not sure if Pound consciously thought about that. He probably didn't. He just wrote what he wanted to write, said what he wanted to say, and later on, some bright spark noticed that he didn't have any verbs. There's been some discussion about how the observer is seeing the faces. Where is he? Is he on the train or on the platform? I would say that from the way the poem is constructed, the lines are written, that it seems like the writer is in the train as the doors open, and he sees a line of faces in front of him for a moment before they all climb in or don't, and that would suggest the line of faces. So there is a line of faces in front of him. It's not a mass of faces. If he was stood on the platform and he was looking at the train, as the doors opened, he would see a mass of faces and probably wouldn't think of it as a line. So, petals on a wet black bough. Probably at this time it was a pretty dark place, the Paris underground. So the faces can be seen for a moment. but the background is kind of dark, so it seems like a long bough, a long branch with the faces animated on top. Why does it say wet? Yeah, maybe it's been raining. Maybe there are umbrellas. Maybe there are wet faces in front of him. So that's a possibility. The word apparitions is interesting. I usually use the word apparition about a ghost, perhaps. It's something that's fleeting anyway. It comes and it goes. So it's actually a very suitable word, I think. The doors open. He sees the faces for a moment, stretched along the platform like they're on a branch, and then they all get in or whatever. The spell is broken, and it's over, and the train is off. So it's very short, the poem, and yet the words used are very exact. As I said earlier, it's like a sculpture. It seems that Pound originally had 33 lines in this poem, and bit by bit he cut them down to just these 2 lines to emphasize the image in a very realistic and striking way. Somebody has said that the poem kind of suggests the fragility and briefness of life, and that's a kind of haiku trait that the the image, the thing that is spoken about in these short few lines should somehow invoke man's final fate. And here there is a connection with the fragility and the briefness of life. The petals on the branch seem fragile, and they're only there for a moment. They're apparitions, so they come and they go, and they can be broken. So life is fragile, life is brief, and that's conveyed very well in the poem, I think. So, a good poem by Ezra Pound. It's a bit amazing to me that such a short poem has endured so well and been so popular for so long, but it's definitely a very good poem, and I suppose its popularity is partly explained by its great example of showing exactly what imagism and modernism is all about. So let's finish by just listening to the poem one more time.